Well, not everybody loves him because nobody loves any director. No director has everybody love him, but I think it's safe to say one of the most beloved directors in the business today is Quentin Tarantino. This guy just cranks out fantastic movies. He's got an incredibly unique voice in the scope of Hollywood. He's a Hollywood historian. Like, he appreciates and adores and gives a lot of honor to the history of Hollywood, all that kind of stuff, which is why some people got really excited when whispers came out that he was going to be doing a Star Trek movie. That, of course, never really came to fruition. Maybe it still will at some time. Maybe it won't. But here's something interesting. So Quentin Tarantino, he was out promoting his new book because he's got a new book out. He's out doing the promo tour. And the topic came up about whether or not he could see himself doing, some form of an MCU movie, perhaps. And he basically shot that down a lot, saying that MCU directors are simply hired hands. Because you have to be a hired hand to do those things, MCU movies, Tarantino said of Marvel movies. And I'm not a hired hand. I'm not just looking for a job. It's funny. Now he goes on to explain, look, don't get me wrong. I don't dislike big popular popcorn movies like Star Wars. Of course I do. But he's kind of maybe taking a little bit of a swipe at, the role of directors in the MCU. Here's the thing. He's not wrong. To a degree, he's not wrong. Look, we've talked for a long time about the fact that in Marvel and in the MCU, whereas everybody always complains, the studio shouldn't interfere, the director is the artistic genius and the directorship. Well, guess what? The most successful franchise of all time, the MCU, is not director run. And it's the most studio interference studio there is. There is no other studio that has more studio interference than MCU and Marvel, because Kevin Feige, make no mistake, while it is getting too big for him to have his hands on every little thing going on, but Kevin Feige's the guy in charge, and he will dictate what the story direction and all that kind of stuff is. And anything big or wild you want to do in your movie as a director, well, that's got to go by Kevin Feige. And Kevin Feige has to green light it or black light it or whatever until it goes. So to a degree, Quentin Tarantino's not wrong, because coming in to do an MCU film, you have to understand, if you're a director, that you are probably going to have a little bit less leeway than you would, say, doing a standard Universal film or doing a standard Lionsgate film or a standard Paramount film or something along those lines, right? You're going to have to understand that ultimately this is Kevin Feige's movie and you are here to just execute it. You're there to execute it. And that in and of itself is no small feat, to go in and take these incredibly lofty concepts, these huge epic stories, and execute it is by itself, it takes a big, huge effort. And by the way, I think it's not a one-size-fits-all situation with the MCU. Like, I think there are going to be situations and exceptions. I think Ryan Coogler talked a lot about the fact that even though Feige set up for him in the initial Black Panther movie certain parameters, like you can't do this and this, we need to make sure you have this and this, blah, blah, but go ahead and do what you want to do within those parameters. And he said he was able to bring a lot of himself to it. So I'm sure certain directors have a little bit more leeway than others. So while it comes across a little harsh when you hear Quentin Tarantino say that MCU directors are just hired hands, it does come across a bit harsh, but honestly, he's kind of accurate when he's saying it because it's a different kind of level. Anyway, Rob, we've actually talked about this before, about the differences between directing a regular film or an MCU film. How do you interpret Tarantino's comments?
Well, I think one, he's correct, but two, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, the MCU is a singular, it's sort of unique in the annals of Hollywood history in that it's sort of a hybridization of television and theatrical films. And the thing is, there are auteurist visions within the MCU. James Gunn is a writer-director. Ryan Coogler is a writer-director. And of course, the MCU, like a TV show, the executive producer, they have an overarching plot line. They have a big storyline that they're managing amongst all the directors, all the MCU movies. But like you just pointed out, within that paradigm, you've got action scenes that are pre-designed. You have characters that are pre-designed. Within that paradigm, you do have a lot of leeway because the directors, it's not like somebody's sitting behind them picking shots, even though you could say that a lot of their action scenes are pre-visualized by necessity and they lean into those, which I think is fine. But you can't tell me that Guardians of the Galaxy isn't a James Gunn movie. You can recognize the fact it absolutely is. And there are And by the way, because he's good at working within that paradigm. And I would say that when you're working for the MCU, there are creative challenges, but there's also, Marvel leaned into his vision for those characters. They didn't tell him who to cast necessarily, even though the casting director who works for Marvel, Sarah, what's her name? I forget.
Sarah Finn.
Sarah, she's amazing, amazing. And all of the people that Marvel has really do their jobs. And if you choose to work, I think, in their paradigm, you can end up being a Ryan Coogler or being a James Gunn or being Joss Whedon with the Avengers movies or being Jon Favreau with Iron Man 1. There are distinct directorial films. I would call them auteurist visions within the paradigm.
I think it's the Guardians example is a great one that shows that, the MCU is pretty stringent on what they say can and can't happen. But within that, there is still a lot of room to give your own artistic voice. For somebody like Quentin Tarantino, though, Rob, who is accustomed to being able to write his own movies, direct his own movies with no notes from the studio and do whatever you want to do. You could see even that, though, would look pretty confining.
I 100%. I mean, and he creates his own scenario.
Yeah.
Like Quentin Tarantino would come in and go, the MCU is great, but I'm going to change the universe. And that's something. And by the way, we would have it no other way.
Yes.
I mean, can you imagine somebody trying to constrain Quentin, you can't do that at the end of Inglourious Bastards because that didn't really happen.
Right.
We have to skew close to the historical facts. I mean, Quentin using different colors of blood in Kill Bill to both honor both the Japanese and the Chinese film industries because they have different mixtures of blood. Somebody would come along and say, no, you just need one kind of blood because it's more expensive to have No, he gets to do whatever the heck he wants.
Chris, you hear Tarantino's comments here. What do you take away from them?
I mean, that's what everyone in this industry is a hired hand, ultimately, And I understand his perspective on this, right? Because he is an auteur. I also think there's a better way to say that because it does feel like it's meant to be an insult or a slight to other people who are doing it. Maybe that wasn't what he was meant to say. Quentin Tarantino's not known for being like a beat around the bush cuddly kind of guy, right? He's pretty direct about his feelings and thoughts. But I just think, and I can only come from this as a writer and an actor, is, I'm always a hired hand. And it usually is, how am I going to play in this sandbox? Now, for a director, I'm sure that is a very, very different ideology because you do get to have more of your unique vision brought to a project. But, I mean, then don't play in this sandbox. That's fine. You can go build your own. You don't have to poo-poo on somebody else's, though.
And, the difference is that Quentin creates the sandbox.
Yes.
Yeah,
whereas
exactly.
He makes his own sandbox, whereas the MCU sandbox already exists, and you get to go look at it and walk around and go, I would like to work within this sandbox.
Yeah, it's a different thing. So, guys, question is for you. What do you think about Quentin Tarantino's comments? I don't necessarily think he's wrong, although he could have put it a little bit nicer, but still, whatever you guys think about them, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Guys, we want to take a second to thank the sponsor of this video, Mint Mobile. Mint Mobile offers premium wireless starting at just $15 a month. And now for the plot twist. I'm just kidding. There isn't one. Mint Mobile just has premium wireless from $15 a month. There's no trapping you into a 2-year contract or opening the bill to find all these crazy fees. There's no luring you in with free subscriptions to streaming services that you'll forget to cancel and be charged full price for. With my old wireless provider, every month when I opened the bill, it was like playing roulette. I never knew how big the bill was going to be, and it always seemed to get bigger. With Mint Mobile, it's totally different. I know exactly how little I'm paying every month, and there's never any surprises. Mint Mobile gives you the best rate whether you're buying for one or a family. And at Mint Mobile, families start at just 2 lines. All plans come with unlimited talk and text plus high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. And guys, you get to use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and keep your same phone number along with all your existing contacts. So transferring over couldn't be easier. So to get premium wireless from just $15 a month and no unexpected plot twists, go to mintmobile.com/Campea. That's mintmobile.com/Campea. You'll make your wallet very happy at mintmobile.com/Campea.